It's Tuesday, September 17th, 2024. More on the latest would-be Trump assassin. Springfield, Ohio isn't the only Midwestern small town overrun with immigrants, and the left has been normalizing terrorism for years. Next on the AM Update. Ryan Wesley Routh, the alleged would-be Trump assassin, set up a sniper's nest near the former president's golf course and hid there for nearly 12 hours before the apparent ambush attempt. That's according to the federal prosecutor's office in Florida yesterday. Routh's cell phone pinged to the spot on the edge of Trump International West Palm Beach Golf Club starting from 1:59 a.m. Sunday. His gun barrel was spotted by a Secret Service agent about 1:30 p.m. while Trump was on the links 300 to 500 yards away. In the sniper's nest, agents, of course, found a digital camera, 2 bags, and a loaded SKS-style rifle with its serial number scratched off and unreadable. SKS-style rifles are not manufactured in Florida, and the weapon was either brought in from another state or country, according to the criminal complaint. Moments after the Secret Service agent fired at Routh, a witness saw the suspect speeding away from the golf course in a Nissan Sport utility vehicle with stolen license plates. The 58-year-old supposed Hawaii resident was charged with possession of a firearm by a convicted felon and possession of a receipt of a firearm with an obliterated serial number. Again, that's according to that same DOJ complaint. Routh is currently not facing any assassination-related charges for the attempt on Trump's life. However, additional federal charges may be filed. For now, the initial charges announced Monday will keep Routh in custody. Yesterday, Joe Biden spoke at a conference where he had these words about the latest assassination attempt.
Before I begin, I want to make a quick reference. The attempted assassination against our former president in Florida yesterday. I commend the Secret Service for the expert handling of the situation. And the former president is protected from harm and the subject is in custody. An acting head of the Secret Service is in Florida today assessing what happened and determining whether any further adjustments need to be made to ensure the safety of our former president. Let me just say, there is no, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, those of you who know me, many of you do, no place in political violence in America. None. Zero. Never.
So Joe Biden is thankful that literally Hitler is still alive. That doesn't make any sense. Of course, it harkens back to a number of comments, most recently from Dan Goldman not that long ago. He's a congressman who had these words to say about Donald Trump and the upcoming election.
And it is just unquestionable at this point that man cannot see public office again. He is not only unfit, he is destructive to our democracy, and he has to be eliminated.
Again, those are the words of Congressman Dan Golden. He made those comments late last November, and apologized later for those, what he called, poor choices of words. I don't think those were poor choices of words. You'll hear why in just a few moments. Moving on, the suburbs around the Denver area are filing a lawsuit against the sanctuary city over the massive uptick in illegal alien arrivals that has brought with it an increase in gang activity. The Castle Rock Town Council recently passed a motion this month instructing the town's attorneys to consider a lawsuit against Denver. The city's sanctuary policies have allowed more than 42,000 illegals to pour into the area while shielding them from federal immigration officials. The motion was put forth by Castle Rock City Council member Max Brooks, who told KCNC-TV, quote, "This isn't just a decision that Denver gets to make because it's impacting the rest of the Front Range. So the idea is to join with other municipalities and say it's time to stop." He went on to say, "Our town attorney's office has already had conversations with the county attorney, with Douglas County, already had conversations with the city of Aurora, and already had conversations with the city of Parker. Some parts of Aurora have recently been rocked, as you know, by an increased presence of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, with reports that the violent group has taken over several apartment complexes. Aurora City Council member Danielle Jurinski has blamed the gang's activity on Denver's sanctuary policies. Jurinski previously told Fox News Digital, "In the entire Denver metro area, it's been like pulling teeth to get anyone, the media, other elected officials, to get anyone to acknowledge the presence of this trend and to acknowledge that there's even a problem." Colorado Governor Jared Polis, a Democrat, has claimed that the TDA's invasion of some apartment complexes is largely, quote, figment of Jurinski's, quote-unquote, imagination. So those Denver suburbs suburbs are facing an uphill battle to get anyone at all, to notice and actually take their issues seriously when it comes to illegal aliens, some of them violent gangs taking over their cities. Well, it's not just Denver and other sanctuary cities. As you well know, Springfield, Ohio, we've talked about that ad nauseum, has been the focal point of the major issue in this, or at least what should be the major issue of this election, which is illegal immigration, or questionably legal immigration when it comes to the Haitians in Springfield. But Springfield, Ohio is not the only small Midwestern town to be overrun with illegal aliens, thanks to the Biden-Harris administration. We now go to Whitewater, Wisconsin. Here's local CBS affiliate Channel 58.
Migrants first started arriving in early 2022. The traffic has picked up. On December 28th, Whitewater's police chief and city manager wrote a letter to the White House. They're asking the Biden administration for help as this city of about 15,000 handles an estimated 800 to 1,000 migrants.
I'm not going to lie, we did close for 2 weeks at one point just to sort of reassess how we were serving the needs of everybody.
Christine Zabayos, director of the community space, says there was not a huge increase in visitors, but they were seeing a lot of people with no idea how the space works.
Sometimes we felt that we had people who were maybe taking more than they needed just because they didn't know they could come back.
For the city, the strain was more severe. The letter states police are struggling to watch the entire community because they're seeing 3 times the number of unlicensed drivers. Then, the city says it bought, quote, costly translation software so police could communicate with migrants when handling traffic cases up to more serious cases, including sexual assaults and the death of an infant.
We have a broken legal immigration system. We have a broken illegal immigration system. The illegal immigration system has gotten so bad that we have to solve that first.
Congressman Brian Stile is among more than 60 House Republicans trying to make that point by visiting the southern border. As for why so many migrants have ended up in Whitewater,
I think there's a lot of assumptions as to why it's playing out in Whitewater, but obviously once you get a handful of people, they're going to reach out to their friends, their neighbors, their relatives, and that's part of the process.
So Whitewater, Wisconsin, a town with just 15,000 residents, from 2022 onward received an influx of over 1,000 illegals from Venezuela and Nicaragua. Whitewater is located in Jefferson County, Wisconsin, and Jefferson County voted 56-41 in favor of Donald Trump in the 2020 election. 1,000 extra illegals in Whitewater, in a small rural town in Wisconsin. And that's exactly the plan here. That's exactly what we told you about yesterday with all of the greasing the skids of mail-in voting, greasing the skids of not election day, but election season. It's these tiny Midwestern towns and cities that are hardest hit, and that's on purpose. They are punishing the people of those areas for having the gall to vote against the regime. In other news, you may remember this story from earlier this year. A woman in Cleveland, Ohio, who authorities say fatally stabbed a 3-year-old boy as he sat in a grocery cart outside an Ohio supermarket and wounded his mother. Well, she's been found incompetent to stand trial. Cuyahoga County Commons Pleas Judge John Rousseau issued the ruling late last week. He says Bianca Ellis, a 33-year-old, will remain hospitalized indefinitely and could eventually stand trial if she improves. Her bail was set at $5 million shortly after the attack occurred, and her trial had been tentatively scheduled for December 9th. Authorities have said Ellis was inside the Giant Eagle grocery store on June 3rd in the Cleveland suburb of North Olmsted when she saw Julian Wood and his mother Margot Wood near the front and followed them into the parking lot. The mother was about to load her groceries into her vehicle when Ellis ran at them with a knife, stabbing the boy twice in an attack that took less than 5 seconds before Ellis walked away. The boy died at a hospital while Margot Wood was treated at a hospital for stab wounds to her shoulder, a wound prosecutors have said she suffered after trying to pull the boy out of the cart during the attack. Authorities have not given a motivation for the attack, which they believe was a random incident. Ellis is being represented by the Public Defender's Office, which generally does not comment on cases. This is for now a total miscarriage of justice. Of course, if the roles were reversed, if this was a white woman stabbing a black 3-year-old to death, this would have been burning cities down territory. As it stands, though, a judge has found that this woman is incompetent to stand trial. She's, of course, got a few screws loose. It shouldn't stop justice from putting this person away for life, getting them out of society forever, perhaps even permanently. But, of course, we live in a two-tiered justice system. That's never going to happen. And now, and finally, there's this. I said at the top that Democrats have been normalizing not just violence, but terrorism for years. What does that actually sound like? What do I mean? I mean this. This is 2.5 minutes, a montage put together by End Wokeness of several prominent Democrats over the past almost the better part of a decade, completely and totally and explicitly calling for violence. See that as domestic terrorism. Listen to this.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick them.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized right up to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look, as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
This is the video of that comedian, Kathy What's-Her-Face, holding up the decapitated head of Donald Trump.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
And sadly, the domestic enemies to our voting system and our honoring our Constitution are right at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet.
So that is a montage, 2.5 minutes of Democrats over the better part of the last decade explicitly calling for violence, terrorism, domestic terrorism. You might think that that is something new and different for this country. And of course, in modern times, at least post-turn of the century, or turn of the millennium, if you will, it is different and new. But it's not actually new for the left in this country. The left right now is just trying to take us back to the typical kinds of violence we saw in the 1970s. Think of the Weather Underground and other such leftist organizations. They're trying to normalize that again, and they have been, and successfully so, increasingly successfully so, when it comes to explicit attempts on political opponents' lives. See that as the attempts on Donald Trump's life that we have seen over the past 2 months. This is not new for the American left. They're just trying to renew this phenomenon. And so far, it's working wonderfully. That'll do it for a Tuesday. Back at it again tomorrow. I'm Aaron McIntyre, and this is the AM Update.